Ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin just broke its 200-day uptrend, and it actually just a couple of hours ago had the official close at indeed one of the lowest points in a good while. However, officially, we still actually managed to make a higher low, as this point right here still sits a little bit lower than the point that we just got towards. So it's all going to depend on where we end up this week. Anyway, at the same time, I've just been noticing a lot of positive sentiment for XRP and a couple of coins in that ballpark. As XRP yesterday, I think, or a little bit before that already, was actually up about 10% in a day, one of the best performers in the entire top 100. And as you can see, today is a really kind of nothing day, with the best coin being up 2.7% and the worst coin being Synthetics at minus 5.7%. Having said that, today is kind of like, as I said, a nothing day. XRP not really doing anything. Bitcoin, as of this point, not really moving anywhere. But speculation is obviously still ongoing for the most part. Bearable Bull said XRP was meant for more than 50 cents. The fact that it stayed this low for this long is a blessing in disguise. More time to accumulate and more time to allow new people to wake up. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Anyway, there was something else that was quite interesting. Northern Trust, working with HSBC, Northern Trust being a massive bank, HSBC too, put out a $14.5 trillion prediction. Northern Trust is one of the largest financial institutions, and they are directly telling you it's game on in their documentation. And they basically, I'm not sure if you guys have seen this, I'll just zoom out. They're basically saying in this little section in this report, if we believe this to be true, that global assets are set to reach 145 trillion and the digital assets are going to be 5 to 10% of that. To which Linda P. Jones had to say, yes, the numbers are that big. The money will flow digitally and you own a very valuable asset. You're early, not wrong. Question: if you knew you owned the next Microsoft or Apple stock, would you be in a rush to sell in its early days? I mean, I think every single one of us agrees this asset class is about to get huge, right? And so selling it right now at the bottom, I don't think is a really nice idea, except from the perspective of, well, if you're selling it now, you might get the chance to buy back cheaper. All those are obviously possible. I will always state that. Before I move on, guys, make sure you go ahead and press the like button on this video, by the way. No, but what I am saying is I believe a lot in the manipulation of the prices at these earlier points, because right now it's all still so easy to do so. BlackRock. Larry Fink, right? $9 trillion BlackRock CEO really likes Bitcoin. He said that basically at one of the most bullish points for Bitcoin in this little time period. And now you might say, well, this is just coincidental, right? The CEO of the biggest asset manager in the world didn't know how to time the crypto market. Could very well be. But I don't really believe in coincidences like that. On a little side note, now that we're talking about coincidences, I honestly don't think this whole shady economic practices / economic meltdown that's like happening between our eyes, or underneath our eyes, I should say, is a full coincidence either. The US government debt will rise by $5.2 billion every day for the next decade. I mean, all the problems stem from somewhere, right? And if you really start looking into it, this golden standard, this beautiful economic upshift that people have always been raving about in the US, is it really that good? Apparently, 61% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, according to a new report. And I think that's one of the main reasons people go for crypto, to hopefully escape this everlasting cycle of just getting your paycheck and, well, due to inflation, now getting less and less and less every time. Because obviously your pay doesn't rise as much as all your groceries do. And so the whole cycle becomes more stringent and stringent. And again, if you've got no real way out, well, crypto could be one. At least that's what a lot of people think. The way I see it is, it's also something I agree with. I agree with the idea of you're not going to get everything you want. Like, you're going to have to take it from a certain perspective. And the riskier the asset class, the more gains start to come. With the crypto space, I personally don't see it as risky at all. But it's also from the perspective of, well, you have these major assets like a Bitcoin and XRP and Ethereum, and you've got these risky shit coins, so to speak, at the bottom. Yeah, I consider those to be extremely risky, but I guess a traditional economist might also consider crypto to be very risky, because indeed, right now the market just shifted by a significant portion in the slightest amount of time here. You can see just this week, it moved down how much? 17% within 1 week. Yeah, that is for some people scary, but I just always see it from the longer term perspective, which is if you just hold on long enough, it'll be 10 times as valuable. But again, that's just my opinion, not your financial advisor. And you might be extremely unhappy that a lot of your altcoins are down significant portions right now. But hey, that's the story of our lives, to be honest with you. Algorand, they got some problems with the SEC. The SEC trying to allege that they are security, or at least have been selling securities. And it's cumbersome, as the enthusiasm of the crypto market is fading. Just traditional marketing doesn't work as much because they're not going for it. It costs too much money, and there's nobody really new that's interested. I think these guys will pop off next run, though. But in this bearish market, until we see a slight uptick in Bitcoin again, yeah, altcoins are just a little bit scarier. Again, for the short term, though. Long term, I think Algorand will still outperform Bitcoin and many others. Something else I thought was quite interesting. All right, James Fallon a little while ago said the SEC has filed its motion to certify intellectual appeal. Greg Beuke had something interesting as a response. He said, filing for intellectual appeal was a huge strategic blunder for the SEC. Win or lose, it fundamentally misunderstands the ruling. Judge Torres did not rule that sales over exchanges can't be investment contracts. Damn. She only ruled that the SEC failed to meet its burden of proof that a reasonable retail investor would believe they were relying on Ripple's efforts for profits. The SEC relied on cherry-picked statements from Ripple and select employees, but failed to produce evidence of the reach. The SEC didn't produce evidence of a single XRP holder who said he was relying on Ripple to increase the price of XRP. It tried to use expert testimony, but the testimony was excluded. The SEC didn't try to rebut John Deaton's affidavits from the XRP community. So why is the intellectual appeal such a huge mistake for the SEC? Normally, a party appealing a final ruling has a chance to interpret the ruling in a way that is helpful to it. And the court that issued the ruling doesn't get a chance to explain or clarify. But now, whether the judge certifies intellectual appeal or refuses to, she will have the chance to clarify her ruling. And she will make it very clear that her decision was only that the SEC utterly failed to meet its burden of proof. One important thing non-lawyers might know, but not always remember or appreciate, is the general rule that no new evidence can be made on appeal, and no new legal arguments can be made on appeal either. The SEC is stuck with the record and will have scant evidence to point on appeal about reasonable retail purchasers. What this means is that when the case does get to the Second Circuit on appeal, the Second Circuit might even be inclined to agree with the SEC's underlying theory of the case, but it will be very clear that the judge's ruling was based on the undisputed factual record, which shows a glaring lack of evidence from the SEC about the understanding of the retail investors it was supposed to care about, but always sought to minimize and found itself adverse to throughout the litigation. As the plaintiff, the SEC loses on a tie, and it has to show it was more likely than not that a reasonable retail XRP purchaser was aware of Ripple and relied on Ripple's efforts for profits, or it loses. Deaton's affidavits by XRP holders to the contrary were answered by the SEC with nothing, and nothing is what the SEC is stuck with on appeal. And I really found this extremely insightful from the perspective that it makes you think about indeed the hard burden that lies upon the SEC to, well, try and get something changed, I guess, huh? Because as it stands now, everything is looking in favor of Ripple. And Moon Lambo also said, great thread from an attorney explaining why the SEC is making a huge mistake right here. Anyway, at the same time, I know I've not been making too many videos lately here. I've been a little bit sick. Moon Lambo said this: the SEC is now blatantly stating that they are not challenging the Judge Torres decision, that XRP is not a security. Anyone that says their Judge Rakoff comment is a threat is mistaken. As even the SEC doesn't believe that, credit to Belisarius for pointing this out. John Deaton's guys said to this, it's as if the original complaint, which called XRP a digital asset security, and the SEC's own articulation of the embodiment theory of why XRP itself was a security never happened. Again, the way the SEC is now writing things shows you how badly Torres hobbled them with her ruling. Moon Lambo stating then, yep, I couldn't help but chuckle upon first reading the screen grab above, where they call the argument spurious. Again, what they say is, and the SEC does not seek appellate review of any holding relating to the fact that the underlying assets here, being XRP, are nothing but computer code with no inherent value. Anyway, Moon Lambo stating, that's the game they've been playing for years, though. They'll tell you they're not arguing XRP as a security, but then in the next breath make arguments that functionally argue XRP is a security. But this changes everything. I've seen anything like this. I've never seen anything like this from the SEC. They've thrown in the towel and said they won't push further on this topic, meaning they're not really looking to say XRP is a security, which is nice. They're going out of their way to make sure the world knows XRP is not a security, that they agree with the Torres ruling on that key point, and that all they want to do is with regards to how Ripple sold it over exchanges, etc., and that they won't make a legal move in opposition to that. Wow. And the wow part being that they changed up their mind completely, which again is not a crazy thing for the SEC to do. These guys hobble and babble around like there's no tomorrow. Obviously, they're not really that trustworthy in my opinion. But yeah, that was all the cool news for right now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure you put the notification bell on and I'll see you guys again in another one.